Because ultramarathons, no one forces you to be there. It's completely auto-induced. Physical pain is perhaps temporary, and sometimes the mental doubts are more permanent. And so I guess failing fast is the best way to overcome doubt. And at a point, I just looked up and said, God, this is in your hands. If it's my time, it's now. I've been an entrepreneur for now close to 20 years. Been a professional ultrarunner as well. Father of 3, man of family, and I guess I like to push things a little bit further, whatever it is that I do.
Joao, how are you?
Hi, Khalifa.
How you been?
Thank you so much for having me.
Heard a lot of great things about you, to be honest.
Thank you.
Joao, can you tell me a little bit more about yourself?
So I've been an entrepreneur for now close to 20 years. Been a professional ultrarunner as well. Father of 3, man of family, and I guess I like to push things a little bit further, whatever it is that I do.
They're off limits.
Try to find the limits.
Okay, Joao, talking about your ultramarathon mindset, what goes in your head when you go 120 kilometers running? Obviously physically for your body that must be exhausting, but your mindset, how do you push through it?
Well, I guess at a point in the race, and it may be around the 120 kilometer mark, you try and figure out why you are pushing yourself through the trail.
Yeah.
And I mean, because ultramarathons, no one forces you to be there. It's completely auto-induced. You sign up, you train for it, you show up, and then maybe halfway through it, you start doubting why you have signed up in the first place.
So why are you doing this to yourself?
Why are you doing this to yourself? And when you start getting tired, you start getting fatigued, I guess you start getting closer to the reason why you have signed up in the first place. So in a way, it's a discovery why you're there. Maybe from another angle, you're becoming the person who will be able to endure the race that you're on at the same time.
Have you ever came to your mind to quit mid of the race? And why you kept going? I'm sure at some point, 120 kilometers. And I believe you guys go through jungles as well. You've done courses in jungles and mountains. Have you ever thought of quitting mid of the race?
I think there's almost two people having a conversation inside the mind. One is maybe my subconscious, which starts, raising, surfacing, and trying to challenge me with, trying to play with me, saying, why you're here, this is extremely difficult, you're through so much pain, you should stop, don't continue, there's no reason for you to be here. And at the same time, there's the conscious mind, or my heart, which is trying to interpret what my body is telling me and trying to figure out, okay, if I decided to be here, there's a reason why I'm here. And in every race, I think I found different answers. And by doing that exercise and figure out why you're there at that time, and every time I've done a race, it's been for different reasons, then you find a way to get going. So yes, it has came to my mind, perhaps the option to quit, but then my conscious mind fought that almost desire that it's been instilled upon me by my subconscious, and I just kept on pushing.
Is it harder to deal with physical pain or mental doubts? What's the most difficult to deal with?
I think it's much easier with physical pain. and I guess much easier, because physical pain is perhaps temporary, and sometimes the mental doubts are more permanent.
Yeah.
And you deal with them not only during a race, but throughout your whole life. And maybe there's some moments like a race that you are able to focus more on what is creating that doubt and trying to find a solution. So I often see actually races or very hard challenges as a search for the truth,
Yeah.
and maybe for a solution as well for whatever it is that is perhaps bothering me.
Every athlete's learns something from every sport they do. Like you take a lesson for life from every sport. What did ultra marathon teach you? Like, besides patience, obviously.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say. As a first thing, it will be that. But for sure, it has helped to transform me into a much more calm person, particularly under extreme stress, fatigue, multiple problems at the same time, and perhaps staying more calm to make the best decision, not just the decision that is at hand. Sometimes taking 2 steps back and questioning whether this is right or this is wrong.
Yeah.
What should be the best course of action? And I think for sure that has helped me to develop a best decision-making process for all things in my life, for sure.
Have you ever had a moment where you just like completely broke down and like during a race, and then how did you manage to like pass that moment and continue?
Well, I've had a few. Maybe I cannot even remember by heart how many. Most of them during races, but in entrepreneurship as well. I found perhaps almost my breaking points in both entrepreneurship and ultra running.
Yeah.
I think that in ultra running it becomes more tangible perhaps because of the format of what's happening.
The environment you're in.
Yeah. But I guess breaking points during a race called Badwater 135, which is running non-stop 217 kilometers across Death Valley in the US in the hottest day, temperatures over 50 degrees. And I had what is called desert hypothermia, which basically is it was 49 degrees Celsius. I was running for maybe 170 kilometers non-stop, maybe 25, 26 hours. And what happened to my body was protecting my internal organs and main functions. And so blood flow stops going to your extremities. And so you start feeling very cold.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to have very wise, experienced people on my crew, on my team, which helped me to, overcome that situation in a few minutes. It can escalate into something very serious, but with a good team, you can overcome in 5, 6, 7 minutes. But there's the moment where the chief of my crew said, "Joao, now you have to go. You have to start running." And it was maybe one of the most difficult moments I ever had in the race, or even in entrepreneurship. And I think there's some similarities between endurance races.
Some lessons from that.
For sure.
Yeah.
But getting up and going back, knowing that in a few minutes I'll perhaps be much better if I get up.
Yeah.
And if I don't, I can get into more serious problem. So again, it is my subconscious talking with my conscious mind, and my conscious mind making a decision, overriding
So it's
the
all a
system.
mind game.
Yes, completely a mind game.
You went from an athlete to a founder, an entrepreneur for ultramarathon races. Why did you make that change?
Well, I guess, first of all, because of my professional career, I was someone that shown already a bit of obsessive tendencies to overwork. At a point, after maybe 12 years working in the biotech industry, I was working 100, 120-hour weeks.
Yeah.
And that's what actually led me into starting ultra running, meaning I was trying to find a way to cope with everything that I had down here that I wanted to put outside. And I guess with ultra running, I became a much more calm person and looking into risks from a different perspective. I can actually undertake a lot. I can find solutions for major problems. I can put myself through these things and come out the other side. And I guess that gave me enough confidence to then start my own company 100 and start organizing the World Championship for other athletes to go through the same kind of journey as well.
Yeah. But I'm sure you saw some few problems during the time you were an athlete in the events. What kind of problems that encouraged you more to have your own race, to start to make your own series of races?
Well, I guess, first of all, the sport of trail running is the fastest growing outdoor sport in the world for over a decade. With over 25,000 races worldwide, growing exponentially. There's a lot of emerging markets. But as a new athlete in the sport, in this 2015, 2016, the reality was that there was no global stage. I wanted to have answered very simple questions as a new athlete in the sport. Who are the best athletes I should look up to? What are the best races? How does this work? How is it subjective, or is that an objective competition that crowns the world champion? And how do you train? How do you face nutrition? How do you recover from the races? All these things that are very simple when you're starting as an athlete, I couldn't have answered. And so as I started building my sports CV and my career as an athlete, more and more, I was trying to get these questions answered, and they weren't answered by anybody. So I thought, why not start the World Championship for the sport? The sport is so big. There's so many athletes wanting to become professional, so many amateur athletes wanting to experience these transformational races. And that's precisely why I decided to start the 100 World Championship, to bring these experiences for runners around the world and build a global stage for the elites and for their teams as well.
What was the moment where you were the lowest during starting the 100, the lowest moment in your business? Well, and how did you manage to pass it?
For sure, it was during COVID, because we were very limited in our ability to put together trail running races. And so we had to shift from putting together very large events into organizing events for a very reduced number of athletes, particularly elite athletes, doing brand activation in some different countries and continents. But also we took the opportunity to do some technology development, GPS tracking system, our own registration platform, a bit of AI technology to help the athletes' performance, and starting to build our international network so that when the world opened up, we would be ready to attack, let's say. And so we took what was a major challenge, which brought down a lot of the companies in the sport, unfortunately. But we saw that as an opportunity to grow everything behind the curtain. And so when the world opened up in 2023, we were ready to start putting together some major world events. But it wasn't easy, because it was almost 3 years of doubts and uncertainty. When is this going to pass? When are things going to return to a sort of normality when we can offer races to runners around the world? And so that was very, very hard. And I wasn't able to do races myself as well, except maybe for 1 or 2. So it was hard as an athlete, hard as an entrepreneur, hard from a family standpoint, as it was to most people around the world. But at the end of it, for 100, it was, from an egocentrical perspective, maybe actually a good thing because it positioned us for success and accelerated growth.
Yeah, that's great. Did anyone have any doubts on you when you thought that you're gonna have your own? Did anyone like believe in you or said to you like, even this is not gonna work? Like you're going way over your head.
Well, I think at the very start, yes, that happened. I don't think I ever paid much attention to it.
Okay.
It just naturally. It's not something I had to fight much. I don't pay too much attention. I don't give much attention to people's opinions overall if they are not very precise and within the realms of the problem I'm trying to solve. And if it doesn't come from expertise, then there's no point. As an entrepreneur, you hear so many opinions coming from so many different places.
Yeah.
So you need to have a very good filter for that. And I know when you're trying to attempt something big,
Yeah.
a lot of people are going to doubt it. But I think if you turn that into attention, which for me is the biggest currency in the world nowadays, then I think that can actually help you and propel you to do great things. So maybe it's something in my DNA. I don't pay much attention. And I don't even have to use it as fire because the fire is already in me.
Have you ever thought about quitting?
No, not really.
Like having your own doubts about yourself?
I've had doubts, but more on the approach to something or the people involved or the solution that we have decided for. But I guess I'm not afraid to make mistakes and fail. And so I guess failing fast is the best way to overcome doubts. Action on things that cause problems remove stress, and particularly not living in the future, which creates anxiety. If you're always thinking what's going to happen in 6 months or a year or two, especially with everything that happens around the world nowadays, if you focus too much on big news and headlines, maybe you go crazy. We have to focus on things that are within our control. And with that, I think a lot of the doubts goes away.
When did you realize that you're not gonna live a normal life? Like even like as a kid, like growing up, when did you realize I'm not gonna have a normal life?
I think, I don't know how it is to live inside other people's minds and hearts, but I always felt like there was something different in my pathway. I honestly don't know if other people feel the same way and whether they then live those different lives or not, at least inside their minds. But I always thought that there were perhaps greater things waiting for me, and that feeling has not gone away.
Yeah.
I think I've only scratched the surface of what I'm able to do, and I mean this in a positive way. I mean, I think there's many things that perhaps I'm able to accomplish if I focus myself a lot. And I guess nowadays it has much more to do with helping other people get through their own journeys as well than my own. I don't focus on my journey as much anymore because I guess because of the exposure to risk and difficulty situations and adversity, I guess I'm cured from amazement.
Yeah. So you focus on others more than you focus on yourself?
Yeah, I think so.
You mentioned to me before that you didn't come from a really wealthy background.
Yeah.
How did that affect you? Like, did it feel like you're holding it back, or was it like a motive for you to become better?
I think that in a way propels you to have more doubts in your mind, because if you haven't been exposed to certain things, you'll have to experience them first. And I do like the teachings of Galileo, which is learning by experience.
Yes.
You have to put yourself on a boat and go across the ocean to feel things for yourself and create your own journey. But I think not coming from a wealthy background, but from very hardworking parents that ended up doing well because of their hard work, because of their persistence, because of their consistency and search for education. And I think that's perhaps the biggest point. It was always been for me the search for education. In education, I mean whether it's university or MBA, maybe less important to me. More important is talking with people that have done things that you want to do, that can help to guide you in the right direction. I really don't believe in one mentor as well, but multiple mentors from different backgrounds. I think that helps you in a way to overcome that feeling of where you came from. And again, I never try to use it as a fire to get me like trying to prove to people something. I honestly don't think that's ever been inside me. I think it's much more on, because I try and read a lot and try and learn from others how they have done things. And I think that gives me a little bit of, again, more calmness, because I see that other people have gone through similar journeys for thousands of years. Not the greatest entrepreneur from this century. I like to read stories from 1,000, 2,000 years ago and see that after all, things haven't changed that much. And if you learn good historic figures, great characters, there's a lot to be learned. You're not that different, but you are different in the way that you put that to action.
So actually very similar. So like same scenarios, different characters.
Yes.
Most of the stories are the same scenarios, just different characters.
Yes,
That's
precisely.
Did you ever have like a moment where it just like set you back completely, where you're like, that's it, I'm not gonna end up going anywhere?
Yeah, I had that in my previous company. So I used to run stem cell business. So in the biotech space, a company I founded, ended up doing an IPO on the main market of the London Stock Exchange, ran the company for almost 4 years. It was very hard to build the company. I was a professional athlete at the same time. I was running a quoted PLC in London. It wasn't easy. I didn't want it to be easy. I thought I could do the whole thing. I was proven wrong. And at the end of that journey, I guess, because I was having some sort of success inside my mind, maybe I thought that I was smarter than most people. But then I was humbled because there were people smarter than me with different objectives in their mind. And so I did suffer from a hostile bid on that company. And I felt a bit powerless because I wasn't paying attention on growing the business or not on politics.
Yeah.
And that made me learn that you have to sometimes zoom out, not just be focused on task lists.
See the bigger picture.
And look at the bigger picture. And that has more influence into the success of anything that we're doing than sometimes being heavily focused on micromanagement and day-to-day operations. There's people to do that. There's people to create a vision and help others adhere to that vision and implement it. And when you're building, particularly in international business, it becomes even more important, this ability to zoom out and look at things from a greater, broader perspective. So yes, at that point, this was end of 2018, it was a major setback. And I highly doubted myself that I could push through. And I had to decide whether do I fight this hostile bid or do I go and build the company I've been aspiring to build, which was the World Championship for trail running. And I thought, why don't I use the tools, the skill set, the mindset that I have developed? I'm a more mature person now. And why don't I use all those tools now and build something that can become truly extraordinary and bring positive change to people's lives all around the world? And so from a very difficult moment, I turned that into an opportunity for myself and others. And once I made the decision, I didn't hesitate, never looked back. And it was the best decision I could have ever made.
What's something you have learned from struggles that you can learn in your comfort? A lesson that you learned by struggling that you could never find in the comfort?
Well, I think there's only one real way from my life experience to grow, and I know this sounds truly like a cliche, and I don't think there's any issue with cliches at all.
Yeah.
Cliches are sometimes just they just represent the right track, and because it seems so normal, people try and figure out innovative different ways to do things, but sometimes you don't actually need it. It's very simple. You put yourself through hardship, and that helps you to forge a very strong emotional mindset. And whether you're an athlete, if you want to have a very good professional career, if you want to be an entrepreneur, or into any technical profession, if you have your emotions under control, you can do much better. But more importantly, you can live a much better life overall. Better life for your family, for your friends, or for the people you're helping to influence through your work, the work of your life. And I think that struggle, particularly entrepreneurship, because ultra marathons, people say they're very long.
Yeah.
But they end in 2 or 3 days, and then you recover and come back.
You're saying it is much easier than actually doing it. Because see, for a normal person, if you go, I run for 100 kilometers, and be like, are you okay? That's the first thing they're gonna ask you.
Look, I think if you train well, if you learn to eat and you have the right strategies, eventually, if you do races and grow yourself, you can run a 100-mile, you can run a 200-mile. Do I think it's for everybody? I don't think it's for everybody, because not everybody will go through the process. Yeah. It's just a matter of statistics. Not everybody achieves high success in their area because they don't put themselves through the whole process.
Discomfort is what makes the change for a person. A lot of people avoid discomfort, but the actual change comes from there.
But sometimes being on the same place is also not comfortable. Yeah. So I think there are two types of discomfort. There's discomfort of not taking any action. So the discomfort of inaction, which creates stress and leads people to depression because they are not doing what they were supposed to be doing. Yeah. And then they live in the future, and that creates anxiety. And then you have stress from not doing what you want to do. And then you have anxiety because you're projecting what's going to happen in the future. And probably you'll have a bad projection because you're not putting in the work right now that will solve the future problem. Another type of discomfort is, okay, now I'm going to get up and I'm going to start doing things, whether it's an ultramarathon or building a company or going to take that course or signing up for whatever it is. All of that
comes with the stress which people don't like.
And that comes with a different type of stress. And for that, you need to have consistency of overcoming. But I do think that psychologically, both are not easy, and people have to choose which poison they want to drink.
That's actually true. That's actually true. From what you've told me so far, you've been a survivor for too long, on surviving mode. Yeah. When did you switch to a builder? And what made you switch to a builder?
That's an amazing question. Wow. That's one of the best questions I was ever asked, actually. Well, a little bit of backstory to that. So, when I was born with my umbilical cord around my neck. And so, the medical team had to revive me because I was born dead. And I was dead for 3 minutes. And I was revived, and in a way, it seems, from what my psychiatrist told me, that I have imprinted now in my mind, in my DNA, an instinct of survival because I was revived at birth. And although I don't remember it consciously, unconsciously it's there. So I have been trying, it seems, to deal with this by searching for risk, whether it's running at very high altitude in the Himalayas or crossing a jungle in Costa Rica or building businesses, startups that are international, that need a lot of resources. You have to raise a lot of capital. You have to do a lot of things right for them to work. Moving country 3 times. All of these have been an exposure to risk. But I guess the solution for me was to go towards the extreme. And for me, the point, it's not that far ago that I came to terms with this. It was actually last year. And it came from 3 events in a row. I had a heart issue during a race in Italy in 2024. I was heli-vaced out of the race to the hospital with a heart problem. I spent 6 months trying to fix myself, which I did, came back to training and said, I'm going to attempt the toughest endurance race on earth. It was a pioneer event we put together, a race across Costa Rica, 200 miles, almost 17,000 meter elevation gain through 3 major jungle sections, deep jungle, all sorts of wildlife, technical terrain, treacherous, dangerous, anything that you can imagine.
Yeah.
I went through it, and at kilometer 300, and I was fortunate to have as my pacer perhaps the best, if not one of the best female endurance athletes in the world, Francesca Canepa. And she was having a very hard time to go through it as much as I was. And at a point at that segment, which is now called the Monster segment, or La Ruta Sucia in Costa Rica, there are so many variables that were outside my control. Wildlife, snakes, poisonous frogs jumping that cannot touch my leg. Plants that can create massive allergies. Technical terrain that if you fall, you trip over 200, 300 meters down the mountain. And at a point, I just looked up and said, God, this is in your hands. If it's my time, it's now. I'm just going to do my best. And I'm going to face this as a race that it is. But if I go happy that I've done everything that I wanted with my life up to this point. And that gave me clarity. I felt as calm as I ever felt in my entire life. I verbally expressed this to Francesca Canepa. She said, I think that's the only way to do it. She was already losing her mind as well. And so we started running as any normal race because I could not control all the variables inside a jungle.
What's around you.
I could control the way and my ability to go forward. And I decided to go forward as fast as possible. That was the second moment. And it's a place where a lot of people can lose their minds. The fourth one was in the Himalayas because I suffered from altitude sickness. On the second time, I was close to 5,000 meters high. And I had to go into the house of an old lady, waiting for a car to come and pick me up. So I was alone there, waiting for a car that could take 2 hours. My SpO2, which I didn't know, but then I knew later at the hospital, was below 65, which is death zone.
You spent most of your life being a survivor.
Yeah, I have.
Since day one,
And I guess these 3 moments, and I did come out of it, but I almost didn't make it. I thought I was going to, I thought everything is going to end here. It was at that moment I had an internal conversation. And I spoke with God again and said, if I'm given the chance to come out of here, I'll stop living life like this. I'll do things correctly first for my family, for everyone that is helping me build these extraordinary things that I'm building.
Just felt like a calling to be a builder.
My friends and everybody else. And I said, I'm going to do this for more for everybody than for myself. And I've never experienced as much success and feeling of joy as I have after all of this. And I'm not advising people to go and find the extremes
Yeah.
to resolve themselves, but that's what worked for me. And so I'm not searching for any extremes anymore. I became much more calm facing risks right now. I don't need that anymore.
How did your relationship with your family affect you as an athlete or as an entrepreneur? Because like if you hear like most of like entrepreneurs or most of people on social media will be telling like young people, forget about relationships, forget about everything, like just work on yourself, work on yourself. But what's your experience of having that while working on yourself?
Well, I cannot say what works for most people, but I do have a very strong feeling about it. I may be wrong individually to some people, but I think, generally speaking, I think having a family is one of the best things you can ever experience in your life.
Yeah.
Having a home to come back to, having children that you can help be brought up as decent human beings that can do good, good for themselves, good for others. Having a positive experience yourself from building a family, and I think that's the hardest thing in the world, to build a decent family, pay attention to them, whilst you're dealing with all the problems, uncertainties, and everything, your own projects in your life. I think having a family, a wife that is supportive, that understands the journey you're on, and I think that's one of the first conversations to be had with a woman. I mean, as a man, when you're starting a relationship, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're an athlete into more of the extreme sports or martial arts or any of these, be clear about the journey that you're on. Don't hide away from the risks that you're probably going to face and exposing your family to. And if the other person is happy to share that journey, I guess maybe over 50% of your problems go away just because you've said it and there's an agreement between the two. And you revisit that agreement over time.
Just to make sure it's there.
To make sure it's there. And you do the same with your children as they're growing up and becoming more conscious. Don't hide risks from them. Expose them to things so they can grow and have their own understanding of how they want to live their lives. Don't overprotect them on everything, I guess. So I think having a family and a supportive wife, I'm 99% sure I wouldn't have done a career as a professional athlete. I wouldn't have done an IPO. I wouldn't have made some sort of success. I wouldn't have the ability to fund my own business, to start a world championship, to be doing the amazing work that I'm doing, to be living in Dubai. All these things wouldn't happen if I didn't have a very supportive wife. And then in time, supportive children, because they grow up. And then if you're very lucky like I am, they cheer for you as well.
They're your motivation.
Yes.
But how do you manage to balance your mindset between work and home? Like since you're doing a lot in the same time. So how do you manage to balance between those two? Mental wise, like you cannot carry the stress from the outside back at home at the same time. It's a lot to be thinking about.
Well, I think at home you have to be very calm, for sure. I don't think it's a very wise strategy to not talk about things that are happening and perhaps big problems at home. I think it's actually good for both to know where the family is standing. But I guess for me, at least, I had to live a very unbalanced life for a lot of time. And it's only because I had someone that was ready to live an unbalanced life for a period of time as well, that we managed to push through and not destroy our relationship. But this was, again, discussed and agreed at the start and revisited over time, particularly at breaking points, difficult moments, but also on the positive moments. Because you see people's character more when there's money on the table than when there's no money on the table. Because no money on the table means everybody's going to try and have to figure it out and find a way to survive. Maybe you'll find some things, of course, but when there's a lot of money on the table and everyone wants to try and grab it, then you see much better who is with you and who really wants to build something big for everyone or build something for their own.
Yeah.
So again, setting expectations with people on, partnerships, business partners, investors. I think that's very important to have these conversations at the start again. It avoids problems. But to truly answer your question, for me, it was a very unbalanced life for a lot of time. I had to push myself to the edge of the extremes to find perhaps the truth of who I am, become comfortable with it. I'm very comfortable now with that. Even if I fail, I'm very comfortable that I can bring myself up again. I prefer to be in a positive environment where there's good government, good policies, where there's investments and in smart people and so on. But put me in a bad place and I'll try to find a good place again.
The survival mode kicks in.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, do you think most people are comfortable about where they are? Not getting too comfortable?
I have a different feeling about what people. I think most people use the word comfort. I think in a way that I don't agree entirely. Because most people that we perhaps would say live a comfortable life, they feel discomforts inside themselves.
Yeah.
And we often see people that either they were brought up in a very hard environment and that brings them a lot of problems, but other people that were brought up in what could be perceived as the best environment possible also deal with a lot of problems. Yeah. And so I guess everybody is living in some discomfort.
Yeah.
I think by default, life is extremely hard, regardless of your background. It just attracts different problems.
No problems, sure.
Nothing else, it's just problems are different. We can try and measure what is the biggest problem, is this problem or that problem. I don't think it really matters because we cannot choose. You were born here or you were born there, but you can choose what you do with that. And so again, it's choosing the type of discomfort more than living in comfortable. I don't think most people live a comfortable life. I think for you to become comfortable, you need to put yourself with self-induced, in a self-induced process of a lot of discomfort for a long sustained period of time. And if we look, let's talk about martial arts, perhaps. I look at everybody I know that's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, you have to go through it for a lot of time.
So you have to live in discomfort to find comfort.
Yes, that's precisely what I think. So I think most people live in discomfort and greater discomfort because they don't choose the right type of discomfort.
That's actually true. What's an excuse that you'll never tolerate from someone? To do anything, doesn't matter.
Tolerate.
Like say, for example, for me, the word "I have no time." It's more like I'm not interested. Like if someone tells me I don't have time, it's just like, you can just say no, it's much easier.
Yeah. Well, I think an excuse I wouldn't tolerate is trying to do things that can have a good positive outcome and taking shortcuts and doing things that turn out to be bad for other people and good only for themselves. And that happens a lot in business, for example, where people try and search and pursue pathways that lead to good places for them and not for others. And I think that's the majority of situations I see on business. And I don't tolerate, I don't work with, I don't collaborate with.
Yeah.
And I nowadays, I end those relationships far faster than I started them.
What's the truth about life that so many people don't want to believe? From your experience.
That life is very hard, that there's not a problem to saying that things were hard. I see runners doing a 200-mile race and pretending at the end that they didn't suffer much. It
Yeah.
wasn't that hot. You know, my body is fine. I mean, it's not hurting. It's okay to share the experience
Yeah.
as it is. It doesn't make you stronger to pretend that you are not in pain. I think that the honest conversation is a much more interesting one because it helps more other people.
Yeah.
Because then by comparison, you do your own 200 miler and you get in the end, you're all jammed up and you're feeling pain everywhere. And you don't want to get up to do anything. And then you start comparing with other people, particularly the elites, and they say, oh no, it was okay.
That's fine.
Or you run through Death Valley and say, I didn't feel the heat. Maybe it was 50 degrees Celsius. Of course you felt the heat. And I think that is, you know, across life when you touch perhaps the 1% of people that are achieving
Yeah.
greatness in whatever they're doing. I think being more honest about what's actually happening, that is very hard, that they deal with challenges, doubts, difficulties as well as much as other people, perhaps even more,
Yeah.
but they just deal with it in a different way. And everybody else feels the same. But I think just being honest that things are hard and celebrate when the good moments are there. I think most people don't want to, they want to pretend that life is,
Living in delusions.
living in a delusion that
Yeah.
everything is like joy and pursuit of happiness, etc. I think happiness is overrated.
Yeah.
I think you go through, it's like a piano. If you want to compose a nice music, you cannot play just one note.
Yeah.
You need to use all of
All
it
of it.
to have a nice melody. It's like the human experience. You have to touch different notes so
Good
to
days and
compose a
bad days.
beautiful melody. Not just the same hitting the same note.
Yeah, sure. What did it cost you to become and to get where you are right now as a person, like personally?
I think the only thing I do is I act quickly on things. I don't waste too much time, whether it's saying no or saying yes. But I guess I say no to a lot of things. I say no to more things than I say yes. And if I say yes, I do them immediately or almost immediately.
Yeah.
And I don't shy away from difficult situations. And eventually, bumping against the walls, I arrive where I'm at. But it has been a discovery process. Most of the times, I didn't know how to behave in that place. When I did the IPO, I was opening the market in the London Stock Exchange. 30 seconds after I had television, everybody interviewing me. I didn't know that was going to happen and asking me what the company was. I was just there. When I was at Badwater 135, standing in the line with the best athletes in the world, I didn't even know. I thought about a lot of strategies, but when I looked at them, I said, I'm here. I'm in this one of the toughest races in the world. The best athletes are here, and I'm actually standing here with them. How am I going to behave now? Or when I pitched BBC's Dragon's Den, I go into the television set at BBC to pitch to these billionaires.
Yeah.
This is going to come out on television all around the world. Or when my daughter was born and I hold her hand for the first time, those are all things that you have to expose yourself to them. And eventually, maybe you'll achieve success, but maybe you don't. And I think the journey is tremendous either way.
Yeah.
It's better than being stand still and waiting for things to happen by themselves.
Waiting for a miracle.
Yes.
Thank you for coming today. Thank you for
Khalifa.
sharing your story, to be honest. You lived a really impressive life, I would say, especially the surviving part. Thank you for sharing your time with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Khalifa, and especially you asked 2 questions that I'm going to go home and continue thinking about them. So thanks a lot for that. Thank you for
I hope we
having
didn't get
me.
under your skin too much, though.
Thank you, Khalifa. Thank you so much. I would say to all of you, wherever you are in your life, that you have the opportunity to go now and choose the poison that you want to drink. Because life, I believe, is hard. It comes with hard decisions. but it's also very hard not to make any decision. So if I could tell you something right now, is go and make that harder decision. Search and choose the path with more attrition. And eventually, if you hold on for enough time, you will find the answer to the question that you have in your mind, and that will bring you to the truth. Once you find the truth about yourself, well, you have arrived.